Hello, everyone. Welcome to Game Junk Prototype Episode 40, recording on Friday, December 11th. My name is Frank.
My name is Sean.
And my name's Andrew.
And it's been a big week in the world of video games. The Video Game Awards were last night. We'll be talking about a lot of stuff that happened there. Probably not everything. There was a ton of stuff. And we'll give you our general impressions as well, and do our top 5 announcements.
It was a crazy night. I mean, you got all the Disney announcements happening at the same time as the Game Awards. It was like a year's worth of announcements in both industries in one night.
I really have not paid attention to the Disney stuff at all, so I can't wait to find out about that on Film Junk.
Yep.
And Cyberpunk, the most anticipated game, dare I say, ever. I think it's fair to say when every announcer at the Game Awards is preceding their whatever they're going to say with, hopefully you can stop playing Cyberpunk for a few minutes to what, like, we get it. Cyberpunk's supposed to be good. We'll talk about whether we think that's the case or not, or any issues we're having playing it so far. I've played it. Sean's played it briefly. Probably another deep regret not going digital for this release. Okay. How are you guys doing?
Good.
I mean, glad to have something to talk about. Hey, we should mention too, we did get some junk mail. If we have time, we might get to a couple of quick ones, but like we'll probably save most of them for next week.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a plan. Some are of great importance for the holiday season.
Yes.
We will talk about. Okay, are we getting into the Game Awards? I watched them not live, but today. I did see some of it live. I kind of forgot. I thought it started later for some reason. I thought it was a West Coast thing, and I looked up and they were already almost over. And then I tuned in, watched the whole thing again today. Some of it on 1.5 speed, not going to lie, with some skips involved as well. But overall, pretty impressed with the Game Awards. It's come a long way. I was not always sold on the idea, but it's kind of better than E3 to me now. It's talking about games. It's celebrating games. It's got tons of announcements. Like, I felt more excited about a bunch of stuff I saw or that debuted last night than I was about the videos that Sony and Microsoft showed instead of E3 and the stuff that did happen as part of E3 or like the virtual E3. Nothing overstays its welcome too long. You get like some clips of something, it's always moving, and I thought it was great. I was thoroughly impressed. What did you guys think?
I thought this year also they really nailed the balance of ads to trailers to awards. I thought overall the show did run a little long, and I was also watching a bunch of it at a higher speed and trying to kind of get through it faster, the stuff I didn't find that was as interesting. But overall, I thought the ads were not intrusive. The ads themselves almost felt like announcements.
Yeah.
And I found myself kind of feeling bad because I was like skipping the ads, even though the games looked pretty interesting that they were showing. And then, yeah, I liked how they didn't spend a huge amount of time on the announcements. They only had, I think, like 1 or 2 musical act things. So that didn't eat up like a huge big chunk of time. Overall, I think like the amount of work Jeff Keighley must put into organizing it is probably, like, we probably can't even fathom how much it is. And I think it shows that it runs so smooth even when he had to do it all digitally.
Well, I'm assuming he's got some help there. I don't think that's a one.
Oh, I'm sure he does. I'm sure he hires someone to do it. But I mean, still, I'm sure it's a lot of work to manage and put together and get everyone on the same page.
Yeah, I was questioning how many like video clips were kind of pre-recorded. I feel like there was a couple where he seemed like he was like calling out to somebody, like he was talking to them, but then it was just like a quick message and then they turned it off, and I feel like it was probably pre-recorded, but they tried to hide that a bit. But I agree. I thought it was good. I didn't like get to see the full thing. I watched like probably the first hour and then had to kind of just watch the highlights and trailers later. But I mean, I remember a lot of Game Awards, not specifically the Game Awards, but there have been some attempts in the past to do stuff like this, and they are always just really obnoxious and flashy and just like so obvious that they're just advertising, and they didn't really have, it didn't feel like they cared about the industry, and now it feels like it's been embraced, and it is sort of like the equivalent to the Oscars. There's a celebration of, you know, the people who work on these games, and yeah, it was, I thought it was good.
On that sort of note, I really wish they didn't bring in actors to do like the nominations. Like, why not get like well-known or even less well-known game designers and stuff that you can showcase, or even just not even to showcase them, just to be like, hey, here's someone who actually makes games, giving this award away. Like, what's the id guy? Like, he's pretty well known now. I think his name's Jose something. I mean, you could obviously get
I
Neil
think you might have
Druckmann or
your
whatever.
answer right there, but
But I mean, but that's the problem. You're
pulling that you don't know their name, which
Well,
I'm not saying is a bad thing. I think what you're saying is it'd be good to have them there so they could even become bigger
yeah,
names.
exactly. Instead of the actor in Chris Nolan's movie that also no one knows the name of, that's in video games, except you guys obviously do know his name and love him and worship at his feet. But I mean,
Is that
probably no
shot
one else.
to Tenet?
Shots fired.
Definitely shots fired. But yeah, I just wish they elevated more, video game personalities.
Yeah, I get that. I think it's obviously just trying to attract casual people to the video game world, which I see both sides, I guess. Overall, I haven't felt this way about video games or like trade shows or I guess E3 videos, stuff like that in a long time. I might not be interested in every game, like from a genre perspective or like just what it's about, but every game looks amazing. There was not a game that I saw that didn't look like it had a unique art style. What's so funny?
I got one.
I thought everything like looked super polished. I was intrigued by something about every game I saw. There wasn't a game I'm like not interested. I wasn't. I don't care about content announcements like seasons or new fighters in games and stuff like that. I know some people love that stuff, but overall, I've never felt that way after a show where I'm like, wow, everything I see is like I could see myself playing that or liking that. I don't know exactly what it is yet, but just graphically, artistically, video games are in a really good place right now.
I actually had the same feeling. Like, I know what Huck's saying, and I think there's some games where it was just a quick announcement trailer and things like that, where maybe there wasn't something really to show. But I was just impressed. I thought there was a lot of original stuff being shown. You know what I mean? Compare that to, again, all the Disney announcements where it's just all sequels and crap. You know exactly what they're going to announce. This was like, wow, I haven't heard of any of this stuff, and it looks very interesting and unique.
Oh, I didn't mean to be shitting on all the announcements. I think all the announcements were great. I was shitting on the fact that there was nothing that was bad. That's what I was more hemming and hawing about. There was one in particular I could think of that just looked brutal to me, but I guess we can get into that later.
Why? Why not get into it now?
Okay, well, let's bring it up then. Your boy Vin Diesel, Arc 2, atrocious. That trailer, atrocious.
I thought it was a great trailer.
Yeah, me too.
Really?
I don't know. Like, I don't know anything about those games.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay. There's your number one problem.
Well, until I saw it was Arc, I thought, what's his company again? Or
Oh, I don't know.
the game company? Did they actually announce something there? Anyway,
Yeah, I thought they made a Fast and the Furious game or something.
yeah, but wasn't he part of the studio that worked on the Riddick game? Maybe.
Oh, maybe the follow-up? Yeah. Yeah, that team was good. Starbreeze?
Starbreeze, I think. No, Tygon Studios, I think is.
Okay, hang on. Well, I'm not ready for this because I wasn't expecting to show this piece of trash, but
I don't.
let me pull it up.
Trailer
Here we
looked
go.
really good. I thought for a second when they announced it was Arc 2 or just when it said the name Arc, I did not tell that there was a 2 beneath Arc. I couldn't even, like I didn't even know it was a sequel. I thought it was where there was Arc Survival. I thought this was like a single player offshoot or like an adventure game in the style of Horizon. It's very Horizon-y, I would say. in the universe of Ark. So I was less excited to find out it was just a sequel to Ark. But I thought the trailer was pretty good.
Sean, I need you to enable screen sharing so I can
Uh,
show all this trash. Okay, so my first thing was, is this a Horizon game? Because all of the coloration, like all that like light blue paint everyone has on, the kid, it's all very reminiscent of Horizon Zero Dawn. But then
Undeniable.
the animations are so bad. The transitions, the walking, there's so much like feet sliding. Everything seems so cumbersome. Okay, here we go.
I clearly wasn't
Let's
watching that
let's
closely.
put it on the screen. It's just like, let me see. It's just so bad. Let's
I
see
thought it
here.
just looked very mocappy. Like,
Oh, it's
Yeah.
very, but everything looks so stiff. It's like it's almost like framey. Uh, I don't know. Everything Vin Diesel does, it looks like he's like walking in concrete boots. Like everything's so stiff. It looks like only like his arms are animated, not his body.
Hmm.
And so I guess I'm the only one who played the original Ark Survival Evolved game, and now I know that game has sold like millions and millions of copies because there's dinosaurs in it, but the game itself is horrible. I don't know how to play it. I couldn't figure out anything about it. It's one of those, you know, survival exploration games that are huge, but I just couldn't get into it and couldn't figure it out. The animations were so bad. There's so many problems with the inventory,
I kind
and
of see what you're saying, like with his footwork and stuff like that now. But
yeah,
I was
it's
barely
almost like,
watching. Yeah.
but this is like a long trailer they're showing off. I mean, I think the dinosaur animations look good, but all the people stuff, maybe we're just spoiled with all the high quality stuff that's coming out now. But all the I don't know, all the human animations look really bad. Like I thought the girl's face looked pretty good, and Vin Diesel's face looks pretty good, but it's the animation work. It's so clunky, and it just seems, I don't know. I was just really taken out of it because of the animations. Really bad. We should get Dax on
Yeah,
here
we got a
to.
new Archbishop of Animation here. Competition.
So, anyways, that was my thoughts on that.
Yeah,
I don't know why did you guys think this was awesome?
I just didn't think it was like putrid as you seem to think it was. I thought it was fine. I was less intrigued when I saw what franchise it was, but if it was a single player version, I would be curious.
yeah, I mean, I thought the actual like looking at it as a like a little short film or something. Like I was intrigued by it and was certainly wondering the whole time what it was. And I thought,
And
the
then this
camera
part
stuff was
here
good.
where they go into the like magical ruins that they don't understand, very Horizon. See, like the
Yeah, I
blue
mean,
paint, everything Horizon. This it's like
I
a
wouldn't disagree
Horizon
with that. But
ripoff.
like, wasn't Ark around before Horizon?
Yeah, but it didn't look like this.
I haven't played enough of it to know like what stuff is elements from
As
their lore
as
already.
far as I know, only the dinosaurs.
Okay.
So I guess I'm curious. Do you actually control Vin Diesel in this game, or what's the deal there?
I don't know. I don't want to spend like if we spend this much
much
time on
time.
this game, you're
Yeah.
never going to end this show. So
Well, you brought it up.
well, I just wanted you to say which game you thought was terrible. That's all.
Yeah, that was it.
I have
That was
nothing
it.
else to say about this game. Uh, so the other thing I thought, the only weird thing I thought other than that was because this is kind of what Huck was saying about featuring game developers. There was lots of indie stuff. There was the Nintendo indie advertisement, which like thank you to our indies, which was like, yeah, certainly didn't feel that way 3 years ago. But I was surprised Indie Game of the Year didn't get video presentation because I think they're trying to showcase indie stuff a lot, and I think a lot of the new awards feature indie games, and that felt like a big deal or a big category that I'm surprised they didn't show
Like the
or like
people.
let them make an acceptance speech or something like that because Hades, people love that game, and it was obviously
And people-
nominated for Game of the Year, and like I don't see why that wasn't a video presentation.
Yeah, and people also love Supergiant, so you'd think you'd want.
they didn't
their
know who was
presence.
going to win. I thought, I mean, if it's nominated for Game of the Year, it's pretty obvious it's going to win. But
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
But I mean, there was even some surprising categories that were announced during the pre-show. Like I think best action adventure game or something. Like it seems like there was a few that were pretty major categories that if you were just tuning in for the start time, you wouldn't have even seen them.
I do understand the genre categories because typically, whatever game is nominated for Game of the Year from that genre category, it's pretty much going to win. There's rare exceptions where there's two of the same genre that are nominated for Game of the Year, but if there was anything, and this is kind of a good thing about games, don't get me wrong, that I'm not crazy about the Game Awards, it's kind of obvious who's going to win everything. And I think that's, for people who play games, kind of a good thing because it's not like movies where there's a lot of subjectivity, like what you like and dislike. There are like generally well received games that are probably pretty good, and you can kind of tell just based on, putting together all of the responses about a game how it goes. But that's why I find I should play Death Stranding, because I think that's a game that is really divisive in like really positive and negative ways. And I'm curious to see what happens as I think more games try to be like that. Like I think Control is like that. I think there's another game I was thinking about like this, where they're really like challenging conventions rather than just doing what every other game does. And I think more companies, Red Dead's kind of like that as well. I think it was a step in this direction of extremely deliberate gameplay and like reality to like a hyper active point in the game, like picking up your hat or whatever it is. Right. So I am curious to see what games are awarded for 10 years from now rather than what they are now, which seems to be like just, they're fun and popular.
Yeah, I mean, we're still at the point where game reviews are largely technically based, right? So it's like if a game is just like amazing on a technical level and looks great, then it can win awards, it can get great reviews. It's not so much about the art in it, which, as you say with movies, is much more subjective.
Well, art, I don't think you mean like the
sorry, like
artistry of narrative and what,
right,
like themes and ideas. What it's
artistry of the game. Yeah.
But I think back to my original comment, games like are looking so good now, like the proficiency across the industry, even for a game to get released. Or I think also, if you're your own studio deciding, like it's easier to judge whether or not your game will stand up to other games in terms of, and what the expectations are in terms of graphics and other things. So I don't know. I think the artistry is just going to be like every game is going to look good for the most part, and it's going to be, gameplay and other things that start to drive these awards.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there. So, I mean, I don't have too much to say about the actual winners, but I did think it was interesting. So, I guess we haven't said, but The Last of Us Part 2 won Game of the Year.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to say that. And Director of the Year.
A lot of awards.
Direction
Definitely,
of the Year, I should say.
Kind of cleaned up. But it was interesting. I think they mentioned there was some sort of like audience award or something, and Ghost of Tsushima won that. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, like I assume that's just because The Last of Us Part 2 had like this very vocal kind of group of people who hated it for political reasons or whatever else, they found in it. But it is interesting. I just finished Ghost of Tsushima, actually, like the main storyline, and like I kind of loved it, but those two games, very different experiences for me. And I
think it really could come down to how you play it, right? Like as a single player game, I might have enjoyed Ghost of Tsushima overall a bit more if I had just kind of blown through the story. In my mind, while I don't think Last of Us 2 is perfect, nor would it be my game of the year, I've said before, at this point, it would be Final Fantasy VII Remake.
What?
Oh yeah.
I thought you were gonna say Astro's Playroom.
Oh yeah, I forgot. The fact that I forgot that. Final Fantasy VII. but I do. It's close. It's just easy to disregard it because it's so short, which is not fair. And I'm glad you called me out on that.
He's just
But
building a narrative for the top 10
That's
review
right.
at the
Big
end.
surprise. Big surprise at the end of the year.
but like Last of Us 2 is pretty amazing, and I think if it had just been shorter and more focused, it would easily have been my game of the year. And I guess that's my problems with the open world like size of Ghost of Tsushima as well. But The Last of Us 2 not winning for art direction seemed absolutely crazy for me because from like a just a technical art direction level, the color palettes, don't get me wrong, Ghost of Tsushima is great for that as well, but I mean the art and the lighting and the facial animation stuff and character animation in Last of Us is unbelievable to me. I've never seen, even watching the clips again last night, I'm like, this is the best looking game ever made. It's not even close.
It's funny because like I think they're both great, but I feel that what you just said, I would say the same about Ghost of Tsushima. I'm like that game, like the colors in that game are like unlike anything I've ever seen before. It is so gorgeous.
Definitely has great visual variety in like the different areas and stuff like that. But I mean, texture quality is not that high. I think the character models are the most impressive thing technically, but I think that maybe that's why it could be awarded that because we talked about the load times and stuff like that. Like it is, I think it's making sacrifices tech like in terms of polys or whatever in technically in a lot of places, and it doesn't show. Like it's pretty amazing. So don't get me wrong, I don't have a problem with it winning, but I thought if any, I mean, I thought Last of Us was going to win Game of the Year, but I thought for a shoe-in, I thought art production for sure.
I can see Ghost of Tsushima though. I mean, it like Sean said, it is a beautiful game, and The Last of Us definitely is the most realistically rendered game I've ever seen. But that isn't necessarily art direction
Well,
per
that's where
se.
I disagree because just because it's the most realistically rendered, I'll point to a moment I've talked about before. Watch Ellie get in a death animation get killed by a clicker or a zombie and watch like the eyes and what happened. Like it is not just realistic. There is like this there is a style with everything in there too. It's close to photorealistic, but there's definitely a proportion and style in their art. It's just subtle, and I don't know. I think lighting overall is the biggest deal with that game, and color palette is to me like just ridiculous. And we obviously talked about the winter morning being probably one of the highlights in visual games for me this year.
Mhm.
Or games visuals, I should say. Okay, let's get into some other stuff. I don't have any other general thoughts. Do we want to get into the top
I
five? Or
I have I have one general thing I could talk about, a sort of trend I saw with sort of a lot of the games that were announced. And it seemed to be there was a lot of games that were quote unquote new games that were almost stealing beat for beat the gameplay mechanics of old properties. So, for instance, there was a game called Tichia, which was in the pre-show,
Mhm.
very similar to Breath of the Wild. There's another game called Shady Part of Me, also
Okay.
pre-show, exactly the same as Contrast from our friends at Compulsion Games,
Similar to
except
Contrast, the things I saw, I felt like they were doing more with the puzzles. It looked a little more.
I'm sure they were, but it has been 10 years.
Yes. No, I agree. I agree.
Uh, project the Callisto Protocol, obviously Dead Space, but obviously on purpose.
Yep.
Century Age of Ashes, which
Oh,
was
yeah.
also pre-game, basically an exact ripoff of Lair, except multiplayer. You guys
Yeah.
remember the dragon riding game
Oh
Lair
yeah,
from
I
like
have right here.
PS3?
Lair meets Panzer Dragoon.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. And then obviously, obvious one, Back for Blood, a spin-off of Left 4 Dead, but that one is also kind of like the Callisto project or
Yeah.
protocol. Exactly the same, like they're doing it on purpose. And then the last one was that Evil Dead game, which to me looked exactly like, I thought it was from the same guys that made that Friday the 13th game, but it's not. It's someone completely different. So
Well, I thought it
It just
looked a
seemed
lot like Left 4 Dead, to be honest. I thought it was kind
And I thought
of.
that's what you were
well,
going to
that
say.
too. That too. But I mean, it does seem like there is this trend of people kind of resurrecting either old ideas and trying to make them new again, or basically copying them and just putting a fresh coat of paint on
Well,
top.
I have a couple thoughts on that. I would say I thought, didn't I recently? Oh, maybe this is somewhere else I said this, but like, what is going on with Left 4 Dead? We need Left 4 Dead back. Like, it's such a cool concept. Like, this idea of a movie you play, like, the length is an hour. It is an amazing idea. Why are more people not ripping this off or doing something with it? And we kind of got it. And I think other versions of it, I think the Evil Dead game looks like that a bit. And there was one other one I thought had some Left 4 Dead vibes. But just in general, so another big announcement was Perfect Dark coming back. And my thought with that was, in a way, Cyberpunk is the successor to Perfect Dark, it feels like. The way I'm playing that game, like it's first person, the world it's in. And then when I saw this trailer, I'm like, I feel like I just played this game last night and it might be better than, I mean, there's no gameplay in this, but I'm still intrigued by a new Perfect Dark, which was being made by the Initiative. This is the first time we finally found out what they're working on, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Which has been rumored for a long time. But yeah, I feel like Cyberpunk kind of is Perfect Dark already.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about Cyberpunk specifically, but it definitely didn't feel that much like Perfect Dark to me. Like it almost felt more like Watch Dogs or something. Like they were trying to.
Cyberpunk feels a lot like Watch Dogs.
Well, yeah,
Did I say
maybe.
Cyberpunk?
Huh?
I said Cyberpunk weird, I think, anyway.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'll say right now, Perfect Dark's not in my top 5 announcements list, but I mean,
I
I'm
assumed it's in
intrigued.
none of ours. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any general thoughts or other games that you
I guess
don't
I
think
have
we're gonna
one
cover?
general thought about the trailers, which I guess this is kind of how, because most of a lot of these kind of reveals happen at like press conferences and things, but I just feel like game trailers are always about like the mystery of like, what game is this? You know,
I've
there's like,
talked about this before.
yeah, and it's like you're trying to guess what it is, and I'm like, why are all the trailers like this? But it's all just because they're all shown at these press events that are like it's like a big reveal.
I gave this
Same
feedback
thing.
to someone who showed me their trailer for a game they're working on, or maybe we talked about it too. I was like,
We did
Yeah,
talk about it, I think, at
we did, yeah.
E3 or whatever the other
okay.
conferences were.
Oh, okay. Put the name of your game in front of the game. I want to like cement these images with what I'm watching. I do
Yeah,
not understand.
even if it's like for a split second, at least you know the name, so you could get it and then put it again at the end.
I was
We
literally
did. We
thinking,
talked.
why not?
We talked about this
Oh no,
exact
we
same
did.
thing
We did.
already.
Now I remember.
Yeah.
But I was like, even I was thinking about this while I was watching the Game Awards. Put the title in the bottom corner, but like make it transparent or something. So I'm like, oh, what is this? I'm really intrigued. Oh, I know what this is called. I want this game or whatever. Like, it is so weird to me, the reveal.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's like I wasn't so much thinking of it in terms of like, yeah, you should show me up front what the name is so I remember it. But it was just more that they're all structured in this way, right? And it's strange because, movie trailers don't do that usually that I can think of. So, I
They
don't know.
kind of do. Sometimes you don't find out the title for a movie.
I guess that's true. Maybe, and it used to be more of a thing where you'd go to the theater and you hadn't seen the trailer online and you'd just be watching trailers before a movie and you'd be like, oh, what's this? But it doesn't happen so much
Ninja
anymore.
Turtles, the first time that trailer showed up in front of a movie, I lost.
Oh, yeah.
Those were the good old days. But, I mean, there are exceptions, obviously, like the Mass Effect teaser. The whole point is to tease it. But I think for most games, put your title in front of your game or on it. Like, we want to like these games.
Yeah, and the Mass Effect teaser is a little different because they are dropping in little subtle hints where super fans will see it and know what it is long before the title is revealed. So I think that is definitely on purpose. Whereas obviously these new IPs that no one's ever heard of, doing that has no relevance to anybody.
Yeah.
And another game I doubt will be on our list, but I did want to talk about it was Near Replicant. and I always get on Sean for not announcing full titles. So, Near Replicant version 1.22474487139 dot dot. It looked really cool. Got some Ikaruga vibes, among other things, and I was like, I need to go back and play the first one. I really
Yeah,
I
I felt the
need
same.
to go back and play that game.
One thing I'll just touch on before we go on the top five. When they first showed the teaser trailer part of Back for Blood, when it was kind of in that snowy area, I thought for sure this was some sort of the Thing game that was being made, and I got really excited and then unexcited
There was one in the snow. I
afterwards.
thought they might be bringing Lost Planet back, but that was very.
Yeah, I think that was a Scavengers game.
Yeah, I think so.
There was a Thing game for Xbox
Was there?
back in the day. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh yeah, it's sitting back here. Never turned it on. Oh, that was a gift. Okay, any other general thoughts before we get into our top five? And I just don't think we're already a half an hour in to cover every announcement. I just don't think is feasible. So, if you want to do honorable mentions, in this case, I will allow it. One, I don't think anyone is going to have on their list, but I'm intrigued by the concept. It's not a gameplay trailer, so I don't have a lot to say. Was Evil West, like like a weird Western thing? I thought I was intrigued by the
Yep.
concept. So
reminded me of like I thought it was going to be a Van Helsing game, which
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
I've
you will
heard other
generally.
people talk about.
I don't think I have a single thing ever on any of my lists that doesn't involve gameplay. So
Oh, I guess I have one thing. There was a lot of games slotted for March release, which is kind of interesting that everyone's trying to get their game out, I guess, in that kind of first quarter as of right now. I'm sure stuff will slip, but it did seem kind of strange that a lot of these games were targeting. But I guess now is the time to start marketing for 3 months from now. It's about that time to start
there's going to be a
ramping
lot of
up.
new consoles at Christmas and after Christmas, and
Yep.
this is the race to get those games out for those consoles. So I'm pumped. Well, there'll be a lot of stuff to play. Okay, let's get into our top five. Sean, you want to start us off?
All right, my number 5 is the Callisto Protocol. I mean, I really like Dead Space 2. I don't know if I ever finished it, but I kind of like horror movies with a space setting. I feel like there's not enough of these, and obviously it's from some of the same people who did Dead Space, so I'm down for this.
Yeah, you can definitely see the Dead Space vibes. Even the little thing on his neck is kind of similar to the health bar on Isaac's back, and it definitely has that creepy vibe going on.
Yeah, it was weird. I was getting Dead Space vibes, but I didn't like know for sure. And then when they said this is the same team or some people behind Dead Space, it made perfect sense. So I'm pretty excited for this game too.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Hawk, you want to go?
My number 5 was the Mass Effect teaser trailer thing.
Mass Effect will continue.
Yeah. So I
Thanks for the news alert. They're going to make another Mass Effect.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it mainly just because I liked that they revealed that the next game is going to be back in the Milky Way, not in the Andromeda galaxy. So I felt that was kind of cool as far as the storyline going on. And I don't know if Shepard's going to come back. I don't believe that is possible, but pretty cool. I think I just hope they nail it. That's my only thing. But
Yeah. My favorite
they,
movie set in the Andromeda galaxy, Parenthood, or one of my favorites. Sorry, spoiler. That wasn't a spoiler alert for the Oppenheimer film joke. But, yeah, I think it looks cool. I'm actually more excited to replay the first one, I think, in the remaster. But it did remind me, I forgot to mention this in general thoughts. As the show went on, it got way less interesting to me. All the announcements at the end, it was a lot of ads and just publishers with a lot of money. And it was like EA and Microsoft throwing their money around. And I'm like, yeah, I don't care about this. But like towards the end, you could tell it was kind of, which makes sense, paying for that marquee time for advertising and announcements. And I don't necessarily think the announcements got better as the night went on.
Sean, you get, or I mean, Frank, you gonna do your number 5 there?
Oh, you better believe it. My number 5 is one that Andrew might have been his runner-up for, absolute garbage, which
Uh-oh.
was Century: Age of Ashes.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
No.
I found out after the fact that it's like a free-to-play multiplayer game, which has me less excited. But I love Panzer Dragoon. I love dragons. I wanted to love Lair. I remember buying it at Blockbuster Video when they put it out 5 days early, and I was so excited. I'm like, I got Lair. They put it out too early, and
Can't
you
wait
had
to
to
move my DualShock.
you had to use the 6-axis
The
controls.
6-axis.
Yeah, don't think I played it for more than an hour, but I don't know. I thought it looked really cool. I like the concept. I don't know if I'll get into it because it's multiplayer, but when I was watching the trailer, I was like, this looks amazing.
I didn't say this game didn't look good. Arc 2 was the only game I didn't like.
I know, I'm just joking.
This game I thought actually looked really good. Like the animations of the dragons were really fluid. The multiplayer aspect not on my radar.
All right, my number 4 is Road 96. Very cool looking game. Don't totally understand what the gameplay is in this thing, but they said it's a procedural road movie or road trip story, I guess. And it looked intriguing to me. Like, it obviously seems kind of narrative based. I was getting a little bit of like a Firewatch vibe or something, maybe. I don't know. Did you guys? Was there
Yeah,
anything?
definitely.
Yeah.
Maybe some Full Throttle, some Firewatch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of those parts of the video Hook just showed look amazing. The lighting, the color palette looks fantastic. I mean, I don't know what it is, but I'm definitely intrigued.
Yeah, there was something I read about this as well. The developers say it's inspired by the works of Quentin Tarantino, the Coen brothers, and Bong Joon-ho. I don't. Okay, that sounds cool, but I don't necessarily see that in the trailer. But
Oh, that's the other thing. Omen was a big thing. Advertising for. Didn't Omen announce like a platform like the Epic Store or something like that? I was barely paying attention.
I don't know
I-
either.
I
I remember
didn't
seeing
see
the
that.
ads, but
There was a lot of Omen. I just saw the Omen logo, which I'm assuming means it's being released on that digital storefront.
yeah, I thought that game looked really cool too. Definitely Firewatch vibes. Really like the art style, the lighting, like you guys said. The procedural nature of it has me
Yeah, that-
a little
that's the-
concerned.
That's the only thing I'm not sure about. Like, does that mean it's like a roguelike where, the idea is you're going to play this multiple times? Like, they say that there's all these different routes, like you're trying to get to the border and there's like all these different routes to get there. But does that mean it's a short game you're supposed to play over and over again? I don't really know.
It gave me vibes just visually and a bit like, do you remember the game that was temporarily announced that Steven Spielberg was working on where it had an alien and it was supposed to be like a 2-hour game? I can't remember what it's called. I just remember a screenshot from it. And it's mostly the part where someone's sitting in a diner booth. And I'm like, this is giving me flashbacks to a screenshot from the Steven Spielberg game for some reason. That never made it.
I don't remember that one. I remember he did The Dig and I remember he did Boom Blocks.
Yeah.
I don't know which one you're talking about, but I'll see if I can find it.
Okay.
I was gonna. There we go. That's what I want. After this commercial, I was gonna go on to my number 4, which was Back for Blood, which I've never really been a huge Left 4 Dead player, but I really enjoy this style of game, and I found it really fun when I did play it. And I thought this game looked really good. I did think in this gameplay reveal that some of the bigger enemies seem to go down easier than the smaller enemies, which I found kind of weird. But, I mean, that's probably some polish thing, if anything, or maybe it makes sense in the world. Maybe they just hit them in some weak spot that was not obvious because you haven't played it before.
It might not be
But-
that much fun in a trailer to watch.
No, I agree. But it looked like they were trying to take sort of that Left 4 Dead formula and, ramp it up by having these huge like monsters as well that seem to drive the story in kind of interesting ways and kind of force you out of your comfort zone. But overall, I think the game looked good, looked like it could be a lot of fun. And yeah, I'm excited to see what these guys do next because I think the last Left 4 Dead game came out quite a long time ago now. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see the changes.
Well, I was intrigued by there was elements of cooperative gameplay that I thought were interesting, where someone got stuck to the ground and you have to help free them. And I don't remember a lot of that stuff in Left 4 Dead. I could be wrong, but I was like, oh, I think there's some cool cooperative gameplay design ideas that look to be improved in this game. So, the game I was talking about, and I looked it up, and it actually is sitting in a diner booth. That's why it made me think of it. Was LMNO.
Yeah, I just saw that. I hadn't heard of this before.
I don't know
remember
why
this.
I remember that so distinctly, that one image. Okay. Is it my turn?
Yep.
Yep.
My number 4 is F.I.S.T. Fist Forged in Shadow Torch or something.
What? I don't even remember seeing this one.
This is like a 2.5D action game with these kind of like, what's the word for like human animals, like Zootopia?
Anthropomorphic.
Yes, and I don't know. I liked the characters, and the action looked really cool, and I was just really intrigued by it. I doubt anyone is intrigued by this, but I was.
It's got animals.
I like the characters.
I must say that bunny looks real good
Like I don't know. I just think this
in the
looks
CG.
reminds me of.
This looks familiar. Was this shown somewhere else
No,
previously?
I think you're thinking of. There's a 3D version of this game called. Not of this game, but a similar looking game. I think it's called Mutant something.
It could be. Yeah.
Biomute?
What's?
Oh yeah, I remember you were
Yeah.
raving about that one a while. Whatever happened? Is that still coming out or
I don't know.
what?
It was supposed to be 2020, so I guess not. But yeah. Anyway, it's hitting my sweet spots, and I thought the gameplay looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's cool. I remember watching this one and not really clicking with me, but after watching it again, it looks good.
Okay, my number 3 is, I assume this may be on another list. I don't know, but Season, which is also a road trip game of sorts, apparently. And I also don't know too much about it, but I just thought the visuals were beautiful. It's kind of this 2D animated. Well, I guess no, is it 3D? I guess it's kind of 3D, but with like 2D shading, and looked very unique. But yeah, gameplay wise, not too sure what it is, but that art style is beautiful.
The cinematography in the trailer and camera work looks exceptional to me. I also agree the art style looks amazing, and I just love the framing of everything in this. Like, I'm so into the look of this game, and when I saw the creature with the camera zooming in and like the aperture and stuff like that, I'm like getting Beyond Good and Evil, the first one, flashbacks, and I am like the framing. I cannot get over the framing and perspective of the camera in this game. I am in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
this is not on my list, but it does look just like a slow-paced exploration game. Looks beautiful, but I don't know exactly what the game is, so it's not on my list. But I definitely am interested in following it and seeing how it progresses.
I just hope that photography stuff is a big part of the gameplay, because
Yeah.
I was really digging it.
My number 3 was Road 96 as well. Almost said 69. But yeah, I think we said pretty much everything already about this one, so we'll leave it at that.
Okay, my number 3 is Season. I think Sean and I might have the exact same top 3 as my prediction.
You think?
Could be.
Yep, I do. Season, and for the reasons we just talked about. I'd never heard of this game. I don't know if it was previously announced, but I am in.
Okay. Well, I don't know. My number 2, I don't think is on your list.
bet it is. I bet it's the same.
You think?
Yep.
My number 2 is It Takes Two,
Oh.
which from the makers of Way Out. Did they have a different game in the works as well, or was this the same
No,
one?
this one's been talked about before.
Okay, I guess I didn't really remember that, but
I also didn't remember it either.
it's like a
It's part of
co-op.
the E3 media or EA E3 media thing that they did. I'm almost positive.
Okay, and was that when the studio head guy was there, like
So good. Oh my god. Yeah, and the same
talking?
guy. Yeah, it was the same guy.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's a cooperative platformer. I guess kind of seems like almost like a claymation style art style, but I think it looks awesome. Like
Oh yeah.
looks really fun.
Oh, look at that baboon. Oh my. I lost it when I saw that.
Had kind of a sense of humor that I was kind of digging, and
Yeah.
And the mandrill is back. Not in spark form.
This game definitely looked interesting. It looks like it has a lot of interesting puzzles, but for me, that like co-op gameplay is going to be it's going to turn me off. But it does look like it would be really fun to play.
Sean, we got to play A Way Out and stream it one of these days.
yeah, we keep saying we're going to do that. Yeah, we definitely
It
have
has
do
to be.
that. I agree.
That was you, Sean?
Yep.
My number 2 is the Perfect Dark teaser trailer, which
Okay.
I don't have queued up, but I think I'm mostly interested in it because it is the initiative and it's their first game and they've been working on it for 2 years. They didn't really show anything, but I think that studio has some potential. It's going to have some money behind it because Microsoft doesn't really have anything else. So they're going to be able to make something pretty polished, I think. I don't think the teaser trailer we saw will be representative of the final game in any way. But I am thinking that it has some potential to be really fun.
Yep.
My number 2 is It Takes Two. Sean, don't doubt me. I know this, bud.
I don't know if your number 1's going to be the same, but
100% it's the same. You're all about co-op gameplay. Like, that's all there is to it. And we talked about It Takes Two. I agree. It looks really fun, interesting. I'm really intrigued by it. So tell everyone your number 1 is Back for Blood, and then we'll...
it is Back for Blood. I mean, it's weird because part of it is I watched the trailer and I was like, well, yeah, it looks exactly like Left 4 Dead. I don't see a ton of new stuff. Like, you're right, there is some new introduction of certain new co-op elements in there. But it doesn't matter because it's been so long since they've done a Left 4 Dead game. At Silicon Knights, I remember playing the crap out of the first and second game. Like, we had some really fun sessions playing those games together. So, it's too bad too because like they did that Evolve game, which I was excited about, and it kind of just came and went. I think I bought it. I don't even remember if like I played it. More than
got reasonable reviews. I think IGN, I remember them giving it a 9. I just don't think it took off. I think some people really like it. It's got asymmetrical gameplay, which I didn't find that balanced at all. And which is weird because asymmetrical games have become really popular with stuff like Friday the 13th and Dead by Daylight. So I wonder if if it has found a second life or if there's people that do like it. But Left 4 Dead is just such a unique formula that like I said, I'm surprised more games don't rip it off or do their version of that. And
like really you said, it seems like Evil Dead maybe was trying to do that, and now they're like, I feel kind of bad for them. Like, did they even know that there was going to be like essentially a new Left 4 Dead game coming out when they're trying to do theirs? But
so what's the story? I don't know the history with this studio. So that's people who worked. They didn't make Left 4 Dead, right? They worked at Valve, or some of them worked at Valve and made Left 4 Dead. Are they like the exact team that made Left 4 Dead? Does anyone know the story?
I was under the impression that it was the same team, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think they got purchased by Valve and then left Valve. Or it says formerly Valve South.
Yeah, Turtle Rock
Acquired
Studios.
acquired by Valve in 2008, and then refounded in 2011. So I guess they left Valve a while ago.
Yeah, for sure. Like Evolve was quite some time ago now.
Oh, right, these guys did Evolve. That's right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
kind of weird, but I don't know. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
my number one is the Callisto Protocol that Sean already talked about, and yeah, I just think Left 4 Dead is great. I think if this game can go back to the original Left 4 Dead and even Left 4 Dead 2 roots, and less actiony, more survival horror.
Dead Space, you mean?
Sorry, Dead Space. What did I say?
Left 4 Dead.
Left 4 Dead. Got Left 4 Dead on the brain. Yeah, sorry, Dead Space. The original Dead Space. Then this game could be really great. And it's got that same sort of like space vibe, aliens vibe. It's gonna be. I think it's gonna be really good. And they did say they have over 100 people at the studio when the head guy was being interviewed. So that's not a small team. Like, this isn't an indie game. This is going to have a high level of polish. It's going to be really good, I think.
Yeah, and just speaking to that, there was so many games. Like, what are some other ones here that I'm not going to get into details for? But
Well, I got some honorable mentions here, Frank.
well, we're not quite there yet. But Odyssey, Elite Darkness. What was the other massively multiplayer one that looked kind of cool? Shit, I can't make sense of these notes anymore. It was very similar to that Centuries game. What
Was
was
that
it?
Hood game? Crimson Desert?
Yeah, Crimson Desert. I was actually really intrigued by as well.
Yeah.
And these are like games that take a lot of money to make, and it seemed like they were all like being announced now. I'm like, where is all this money coming from for these games?
I actually probably should have put Crimson Desert on my list. Now that I'm thinking back on it, it was really polished. I thought the trailer was just really long, and they had a lot of action pieces. The cloth looked really good. Had some really
It seemed like there was
cinematic.
a lot going on in that game. Like,
Yeah, yeah. And it's made by a studio in South Korea, which is kind of cool. Like, 'cause there's not many. What would you call it? Southeast Asian companies. There's like that one game that is made by that one guy. I think he was also South Korean, or was he Chinese? But either way, like, that area of the world other than Japan is not very representative in games. So it's kind of cool that you have these studios now breaking in. I don't know if they're releasing their games in those regions, in like the Asia region, but we don't see them really in North America, I don't think. Not usually, which is kind of cool that they're finally breaking through or just starting.
Yeah, well, I mean, Genshin Impact, I guess, maybe an example of that.
Yeah.
Some of those games are very like tailored to their region and their culture, so they don't break through here. But yeah,
is it my turn just to go last?
yeah. What's your number one, Frank?
Well, I already went.
Back for Blood. Like I said, I knew Sean's top three was the same as mine. And yeah, it looks great for all the reasons we talked about. Can't wait for a new Left 4 Dead game. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, but at the same time, and maybe so does Valve own the name Left 4 Dead? Is that why they can't call it Left 4 Dead 3?
I'm assuming.
You know what? I'm surprised they're not going to get sued just by having that number 4 in the name.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I was gonna give them credit and say, hey, it's kind of cool that they're like, kind of not doing a direct sequel and kind of doing a new franchise, but maybe they don't have a choice.
Yeah. I think they came as close to they could with that 4.
Yeah, I guess.
I bet they had some lawyers involved on that one.
I bet the financial team there was like, look, Evolve was really good, but we need to tell people this is a new Left 4 Dead. How can we really hit home?
How can we do this? Yeah.
Man, I think that HP Omen thing is like a new gaming storefront. And the fact that none of us, well, I kind of know that it is or kind of know what it is, and neither of you, it didn't register with either of you guys or you're not seeing it, kind of seems like it was a big fail. announcing that service. Like everyone was excited with Epic when they had the lower fees and stuff like that, and obviously they had Fortnite to use for that. But I think it might just be we might be done with adding new storefronts. I don't know.
I mean, I didn't watch the whole show, so maybe but I didn't hear anybody talking about it either. So
Yeah. Anyway, okay. Any other, Sean? You want to do your honorable mentions? I have one. Just
yeah, I
one.
mean, so obviously one honorable mention. Gotta mention Swedish Chef and Overcooked too. That's just huge. But aside from that,
I genuinely laughed at the Swedish Chef. I forgot how funny the Swedish Chef.
I mean, it's like it's a pretty cool tie-in, I have to admit. This would have been on my list if not for one reason: Super Meat Boy Forever, which finally has a release date, but it's only being released on the Epic Store initially. So, I mean, I'm probably gonna wait.
Sorry.
Yeah. And I guess Mist VR, slightly interested in that. The trailer didn't look so great, but that's kind of I'd be interested to revisit that game in VR.
I thought that might sneak on your top 5, but correctly, I did not predict it would be on there. So,
yeah.
The one I want to mention is I really wanted to put it on my list. Returnal. I probably should have. Now that I know that Dragon game is multiplayer. Returnal is the first like third person. Seems like a bigger budget. I would assume it's. I don't know, but I'm getting double A vibes, like a Hellblade or something like that, in terms of length and scope. But it's a third person action game by Housemarque or House Marquee. I never know which one it is. And I've loved their shooters and other games like Super Stardust. What was the other one? Nex Machina, and there was a couple other ones, but I really like that company. And this game I think is also March, and I'm extremely excited for it on PlayStation 5.
I just want to quickly mention Endless Dungeon, which I think has the most unfortunate name, but the gameplay looked kind of interesting. It was some sort of roguelike that was isometric view in some sort of like space environment. It looked like it could have been a twin stick shooter, maybe co-op. It was kind of hard to tell. The trailer was not very good, but once they actually got into gameplay in the last like third or quarter, I was kind of intrigued. And then I guess the other thing is Open Roads, which is the next game from Fulbright, which has kind of a unique art style. Now, I think they announced this already, right? Or did they not? It's kind of like a 3D environment with 2D cartoon characters and are obviously telling some sort of road trip story.
This is the one with Caitlin Dever and who's the other actor?
Yeah. Keira Knightley, I think? No, Kerry Russell.
Kerry Russell, yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of interested in that. I still haven't played Gone Home yet, but hey, I'll get to it.
You got time. It's only like an hour or two.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, one other game I just wanted to mention real quick. I mean, I have no idea what to make of this one, but do you guys have any thoughts on that We Are OFK game? Do you remember seeing that? Like, it was...
No.
The trailer just looked like a music video, and I was like, okay, it's a band playing.
I thought it was a band. I thought it was a performance.
Yeah, I thought it was a performance too.
It kind of was, but it's also a game. Like, there's a game coming out. It's an interactive series. Each week for 5 weeks, a new episode will air, allowing players to experience the world as an indie pop group called OFK.
Oh, shit.
I have no idea what that means. I'm kind of intrigued, but I don't know what to make of it.
I had no idea that was a game. I skipped like that whole thing. Okay, first question from Baker Wright. What's up, fellas? Big film and game junk fan here. I'm in a bit of a console dilemma and trying to choose between picking up a Nintendo Switch or a PS5 this holiday season. I'm a pretty casual gamer and currently only have a PS4 that I play semi-regularly. The Switch is appealing to me because of its portable nature and the idea of being able to pick up a game and play for half an hour or so and put it back down. It also has some pretty sweet exclusives that I haven't been able to play, and it has party games that would definitely be more appealing to my wife. I was initially pretty excited for the PS5, but I'm thinking more now that I should wait a bit before picking it up since most of the games are still coming to the PS4. Given his circumstances, If I were to grab one tomorrow, which one should he get and why?
I mean, easy answer because you're probably not going to be able to get a PS5. But I think Switch is the easy answer personally. I mean, there's lots of great games. Obviously, if you're going to play with your significant other, then that's probably a selling point as well. PS5 will be there down the road. It'll be easier to find a year from now. And yeah.
Yeah, I kind of agree, but just because they already have a PS4, I think, right? But
Yeah.
unless you really want to play Demon Souls, I do have to say though, does anyone get the vibe that there's going to be a new Switch real soon?
That's possible, yeah.
I would hate to buy a new console and just have a new one come out 3 months from now, or 5, whatever. And at least a PS5, it's like brand new. There's not going to be a new version for probably at least 2 years. So that's the only reason I might lean PS5. But, it certainly isn't bad to get a Switch and experience some of those first party games.
I would go for a Switch as well for the first party games that you're not going to get anywhere else. PS4, like you said, they're good. The games are basically on there, and that console is going to still be supported for a long time. There's not much coming out for the PS5 right away. And also, if they do,
Nintendo's track record for supporting previous, like the PS4 Pro situation, the new DS versus original DS, their standard for supporting old consoles and new consoles is not good. Like some games were almost unplayable on the old DS compared to the new DS. So I don't put a lot of trust in Nintendo to make those like comparable experiences.
Yeah, that's a good point. Though, I mean, it's not like, Mario Odyssey is ever going to come to the PS4.
Of course.
So, but also with the Switch, if there is a new one, I think the Switch is doing so well still that the only new Switch I could see would not be like a Switch version 2, not like a Wii U. I think it would be like a DS large or whatever you call it, where they make a bigger, more powerful, larger handheld surface area, so the screen's a little larger maybe, or maybe they just go higher resolution on the handheld mode. I can't imagine them like already flipping into the next generation for Switch just to try to keep up with PS5 and Xbox Series X. So I would say Switch. And then the last question, also kind of timely for the holiday season.
I got to fanboy out a bit here. I do have to say PlayStation again because, like, the prices are not that far apart. Like the fact that you get a controller with that console, like a Switch, like in the States, it's 300, I think, and if you can get a digital PS5, it's 400. Like a Pro controller for the Switch is like almost the difference in those two things. So especially if you like using controllers. I would say the Switch for me is almost unplayable without using a Pro controller. I do not like the controllers on the Switch or like taking the Joy-Cons off and putting them in their hub. I can't even play games like that. So I don't think it's as clear.
Question: have they fixed the Joy-Con drift issue with new versions of the Switch? Because mine still drift, my Joy-Cons, and I clean them every now and then, and that helps. I've never. Oh, actually, I did send them away originally, and it still comes back. It still happens. So that's real annoying.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they fixed it.
I always forget about that. They get you with that Pro controller, and I'm sure some people like just play it in handheld mode. If you do, then maybe just get the Lite for a little less money for now. Mm-hmm. But seriously, I cannot play the Switch without a Pro controller.
Yeah, good point. The last question here is from Nick, and he says, Sean, could you talk a little about your experience with the GLAP on the next episode? I've been eyeing the Kishi and the GLAP for some time and can't decide if it's worth it to spend that kind of money on a controller for a phone. How do you like it so far? In particular, the D-pad.
Well, the D-pad's fine. As I mentioned before, my only real issue is with the shoulder buttons, which hasn't been a huge issue for me. I'll lay it out for you. Like $100 for any of these is a lot to ask. I mean, the GLAP for $50, I think, was perfect. That was just on sale temporarily. I don't know if that price will come back anytime soon. The difference between the GLAP and the Kishi. So the Kishi I probably would have got because that kind of seems to be getting the push as like the de facto controller to get for your phone. And the problem is, if you want to be able to use both Android and iPhone, you can't. You have to buy one or the other. There's an iPhone version and an Android version, and it plugs directly into your phone, which is good, I guess, in theory, because less lag. But I have like an old Android phone that I use for Game Pass or xCloud, and I have my iPhone that I use for Apple Arcade stuff, and I wanted to be able to use both. Was hoping the GLAP would do that because it's Bluetooth, and it doesn't work with the iPhone, unfortunately. So not sure if that'll change in the future. They could easily support it, I'm sure. But anyway, I do like it. But
That
if
reminds me.
the
Sorry, Phil Spencer said that it's xCloud is coming to iOS
I saw that,
in the spring. Now I think it's through a browser, but
yeah,
just worth noting.
yeah, yeah. So if that happens and it works well, at that point, I would say probably try to get a good deal on a Kishi for your iPhone. But actually, I don't know. Does he say which type of phone he has? I don't think
No.
so. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's my thoughts. It's been pretty solid, but I don't know if I would recommend anyone spend $100 or more on these, unless that's like your only way you play games. Like, if you're playing Genshin Impact and stuff like that. Actually, that doesn't even support controller on mobile yet, so never mind. But some people play like the Call of Duty games and stuff like that, and that's where they do the majority of their gaming. Then it would be worth it.
Okay. Should we move on then? Or are we going to wrap it?
We're at an hour and 13. I feel like we should at least acknowledge Cyberpunk.
Gotta
yeah.
do some quick first impressions, yeah.
Okay. So I played it at midnight on Thursday, Friday, whatever. And I love the world. I like the first person controls. I think it's pretty good. My game crashed on me several times. I'm not crazy. Well, I played for a bit and I thought the way they introduced the mechanics was a nice pace for me. And I'm probably farther than you, Sean. Then I got to a mission where I felt completely overwhelmed. Like there was someone hacking me to make me overheat, and that system for tracking them down is not good. I'm sorry. Like I tried this mission several times and I still don't know how to track down who is making me overheat, and I feel like an idiot. There's an indicator, but sometimes they're on different floors. I can't see them. I'm guessing there's perks or something that help you do that later on. I don't know. But I was like, what is going on here? Like all of a sudden this game went to a different level and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. So I'm sure there's a learning curve. And I actually found myself liking stealth more than I thought I would when I replayed that section over and over again. So I do like how you level up based on what you do. And, there's a lot. There's a lot going on in the game. And I just felt like, whoa, this is a lot of stuff right now. So I think I'm going to get used to it the more I play. But it is pretty buggy. And the checkpoint system, this is why I struggle with these games. I have to pick up every piece of junk. I'm OCD. I need to scan everything, pick up everything, and I pick up everything and then I die and it's all put back. And now I have to pick up everything again. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this. Then it's even worse. Then I have to wait till I hit a checkpoint and then go backwards through the whole level and pick up everything. So I need to get over my OCD in order to enjoy this game, because I can't. At least I have a perk for auto dismantling stuff, which I got right away. So junk, I automatically get stuff for. But I think the economy system, I've watched a video on the economy system in The Witcher and crafting. I think it's the same system. So maybe people who've played The Witcher like understand it right away, but I don't. I do feel the complaints I had about Watch Dogs Legion. I always get the pluralization wrong on that. And Valhalla stand with like way too much talking, way too much story. I'm like, there's so many names. I'm like, I'm never gonna remember half of this stuff. Like there were so many names coming at me to start the game, and I'm like, what? How am I supposed to remember any of this? And although I do like the characters, like the different characters I've interacted with so far feel really unique and really cool, and like they match that universe. I get like Mass Effect BioWare vibes with like the cohesiveness of the universe, which I love. Uh, I do like driving a bit more than I thought I would. I will say this. So far, I think it might be part of the tutorial version of the game, but every mission I do not have to drive like a mile to get to the next thing. It's like really close. I do have to go somewhere, but it's relatively close proximity. So it hasn't been that big of an issue. Um, but yeah, it's I also have issues with the first person highlighting. Like highlighting objects, I find like I'm right over top of it and it's not highlighting, and then I back up and go back and then it shows up, and I'm like, what if I would have missed that? What if I don't know? It does seem like there's some weird. It could use some more polish for sure, but I'm gonna try to push through. I'm gonna try to get immersed in this world. I will say I'm not hooked yet, but I'm hooked a bit more than I was with some of the other open world games I've tried recently, and I do miss. I'm curious. I think there's some free running stuff like parkour that they told me a mission I should do, and I kind of lost it. I'm like, not like I didn't get angry. I'm like, where is this mission? What's this important mission I'm supposed to not neglect or something like that? And I don't know what it is. So I don't know. Definitely enjoying it more than some of the recent open world games, but I mean, I am worried that there's too much. Like it's Sean, you must love it because you hate that Spider-Man doesn't feel populated. This game feels populated to a detriment to me. So,
Well, but I mean, like your complaints are kind of my same complaints about a lot of open world games. So I basically had time to choose my penis size, do a few tutorials, and then just got into the beginning of the story.
Texting Sean as I was, you know,
Measuring up.
Yeah,
measuring down.
but I mean, I love the world. Like, don't get me wrong. This is like my shit. You know what I mean? Like, fantasy games are cool, but this is amazing. It takes me right back to, gotta give a little shout out to the Neuromancer Commodore 64 game, which was probably my first encounter with a cyberpunk world, and I just loved it. And but this is so that part is amazing. But the combat stuff, I'm not 100% sold on it, particularly with the melee stuff. I always find that to be a bit of an issue. Frank is holding up a mercenary.
Look, this is Cyberpunk. We have to play a mercenary.
I missed that one. What could I say?
Like it looks like it was made for you.
We'll stream that game at some point. But this is a mercenary for the 3DO, I believe. Oh, here we go. Now we're talking. Neuromancer for the Commodore 64. So good. The combat, like the melee stuff in first person, seems a little clunky. I don't know. Like I'm hoping to focus on stealth or ranged combat more than that. But I've heard a lot of bad things about performance on console. Playing on PS5, it's been pretty good. I know what Frank's saying. I've seen some of those weird things with picking up objects and stuff.
You haven't crashed?
It hasn't crashed on me yet. Maybe there's been like a new patch since. I don't know. The patches are giant. I had to delete like half the stuff on my PS5 already.
Friend of the show, Andrew James, had messaged me, and his crashed like 4 times in 4 hours.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I played for like an hour, so I had 0 crashes, but it could happen anytime. But yeah, I definitely had, like, I was reminded of so many games that I loved initially that just got too overwhelming and I never finished for whatever reason, like a little bit of Morrowind, Skyrim, Knights of the Old Republic, trying to think. There's a couple others, but and all those games are the kind of games where initially I'm like, oh my god, I can go anywhere, and there's going to be some kind of story waiting for me, or like I'll just search in this corner and there's going to be some object to pick up. But then I start, like you said, Frank, just having to pick up everything, and then you just give up at some point. I don't know.
At least there's a color coding system with rarity where I feel like at some point I'm just going to ignore the white cubes and focus on the green and blue cubes. But I don't know yet. I can't get over that. I'm just like,
yeah, I don't know. I'm going to try to focus though and just give it a real shot, and hopefully I will stay hooked on this one. We'll see what happens.
cool. I'm going to try to play some more. I'm going to be pretty busy with work this week and Hobbit movies, so I don't know how much I'm going to play for next week, but hopefully over the holiday break I will get cyberpunked. Okay, let's wrap it up. Sean's getting pulled in a lot of directions right now. I think he wants to shut it down, which I'm happy to do. So check us out on youtube.com/GameJunk, on Twitter, FilmJunk, and Andrew is My Angry Commute and Equilibrium Sis. And we'll be back with more hot gaming news next week. See ya.